Our CMO program is our Certified Municipal Official program, and it's very important because municipal leaders come from a wide variety of backgrounds, and so we want to get them trained on what they need to know to be good leaders in their community. And so at this conference, we are doing 73 educational sessions, and we do so many because we want to make sure from the largest city to the smallest village that there's something for everyone to take back to their community. They come from a wide variety of backgrounds, and so we want to make sure everybody understands that running a business is different from running government, and so we want to make sure that they understand municipal finances, municipal laws, and so for these new officials, we do some classes that are meant just for them to get them trained on what they need to know as brand new officials.
Today's workshop is, so you've been elected mayor, now what's up? Yeah, and what's next? And so it's a critical session for educational training for not only networking, but also the training that you receive regarding making sure what your budget is done on time, making sure you have two signatures from the clerk and the mayor. All of those nuts and bolts things that you need to do to govern and govern well, but also as a good opportunity for our municipal leaders to begin to show that camaraderie and network across the state of Mississippi, from D'Iberville to Delo, from Hattiesburg to Horn Lake. All of the people come together and understand that you're not in it alone. They're all newly elected, and we had about a 35% turnover with municipal elections. But these folks here can now meet their colleagues and say, look, if I got a question, if I need an answer, you can contact the Mississippi Municipal League first, but you can always contact your other colleagues around the state to help you.
Our workshop deals with preparing cities and communities for the eventual disaster that could strike them. So all cities within Mississippi have to be prepared. The tornadoes that have happened in the last couple of years have devastated some communities. So it really needs to be every city's forefront to understand how I can best be prepared. I can't prevent the storm. Maybe I can be better prepared to deal with the cost involved with that. So the planning is to find a city that has recently gone through disaster. Some of them have learned some lessons. Some of them have the scars and the bruises. Take advantage of their bruises so that you can work with them and come up with the best plan of action for your community.
Our workshop today deals with community growth and all the things you need to be doing to foster community growth. Well, economic development is fostering community wealth, both for the citizens that live there as well as for the towns that provide those services.
How are cities able to grow and create jobs, starting from the smallest city in Mississippi to some of the larger cities?
Yeah, it could be tourism, could be fostering a great downtown, it could be bringing in industry. It just depends on the size of the community.
What success stories have you seen that could be lessons for Mississippi?
Well, we're going to share some of those today. It's some of the towns that you have that are doing incredible things. Oxford, Tupelo, Ocean Springs, all with very different types of economies. Success is really in continuing to create growth in really tough times, and especially their downtown communities, fostering a sense of place for the people that live there and people who want to move there.
Our workshop this morning is dealing with conflict resolution and how leaders can navigate that. And it's very important for any elected official to be able to handle conflict and work through that.
What is your suggestion to municipal officials around Mississippi?
Well, the biggest thing is to actually have conversations. Folks need to actually tee up these issues, get around the table and work them out. But that only happens when people start talking and working together.
What's your advice when a situation gets to the point where a lot of citizens are concerned about a particular issue and become very vocal?
Well, at that point, it's really important that people listen, that elected officials actually listen to what people have to say. And again, the solution is to work to a collaborative point where people are working to common ground. And if you listen and try to work to a common ground solution, you can always be successful.
Our workshop today is dealing with the true drinking water options that we have and how we should value them. Today, Mississippi's drinking water is primarily groundwater, which is phenomenal. For one, it allows for a lot of filtration before we ever consume it. But the fact that we can just simply put a pump in the ground and treat it very minimally before we drink it is great.
What is your recommendation for municipalities around Mississippi?
Make sure that your rates are appropriate so that you're not insufficient in any of your actions or maintenance.
What are the biggest dangers to safe and clean drinking water in Mississippi?
Quality facilities, quality staff, and a lot of oversight.
Our continuing education workshop this morning dealt with planning, city planning, town planning, land use matters, and it's critically important because it lies at the root of what our cities and towns are now and can become in the future, and that's what we dealt with.
What is your recommendation for municipalities around Mississippi?
Plan, but not just plan well. So we lay a foundation here, kind of a 101 introduction to planning. We could go very, very deeply into to our topic, but we lay a foundation 101 with the overall point of trying to inspire, generate, motivate communities to approach their future seriously through the process of city planning, as we describe the methods and techniques available to communities here.
What are the advantages of good planning, and conversely, what are the dangers in bad planning?
The advantages of good planning are good communities. The disadvantages or the dangers of bad planning are bad communities. It's that simple. The best communities are built strategically and in well-planned fashion and with solid decision-making in the process. And this, again, lies at the root of quality of life, economic well-being, prosperity of our people. This is all wrapped up in the notion of planning well.
The CMO workshop this morning deals with basic municipal finance. It'll cover budgeting and why budgeting is so important to a city and a town, and also debt financing and how to do that and when to do that sort of thing. Of course, many newly elected officials are from the private sector, have done budgets in the private sector, but a municipal budget is totally different, or different in many ways than a private sector budget, primarily because it's statutory. There are steps that you must take in order to adopt the budget, and we'll go through those steps this morning.
What's your advice to municipalities around Mississippi?
To use your budget to your advantage. That's a way to achieve or help to achieve the things that you want to achieve as a newly elected official.
Our workshop today deals with community development. We're going to be talking to mayors and elected officials about specifically the Main Street approach to community development and how downtown revitalization plays a really important part of advancing the community's goals and interests. Main Street is a program that focuses on the preservation and economic revitalization of historic downtowns in Mississippi. We've got 47 Main Street programs across the state of Mississippi in towns large and small. Down here on the coast, we've got programs in Biloxi and Gulfport and Pascagoula and Moss Point and Ocean Springs, just to name a few. But we've got programs all across the state that are focusing on the Main Street 4 points, which is organization, design, promotion, and economic vitality.
What kind of success have these Main Street programs seen in Mississippi?
At the end of the day, Main Street's all about job creation and business expansion. And just in 2020, last year, which you'll remember was the year of the pandemic, we saw our programs create 584 new jobs in Main Street districts across the state, which also led to a number of business expansions as well as a catalyst for public and private investment.
Our workshop today deals with becoming business friendly in a small town and identifying resources that small business owners need in order to be successful. And it's important because small business and entrepreneurs are the backbone of our cities in Mississippi.
What recommendations do you have for cities across Mississippi?
Well, one thing is you've got to make it easy for starting a business, getting as many of the things that people are going to have to do as far as requirements and permitting in one place so that there's a one-stop shop and it's easy to find, easy to understand, and having a person that is a go-to person for questions.
What kind of success have you seen out of small businesses throughout Mississippi?
Well, small businesses are just part of what we do in Mississippi. We've recently seen some grocery store openings in the Mississippi Delta, and our small businesses, a lot of them were able to weather the pandemic because they were able to readjust some of their business models on the spot.
Our workshop deals with brownfields in the Mississippi Brownfield Program as well as the federal brownfield programs. Brownfields are any real property that may or may not have contamination on the property. It is that cloud of uncertainty that we look to try to investigate and alleviate and to help put properties back into reuse. A brownfield is really like any property you might have around your town, like an old gas station, dry cleaner, just an old vacant property, even just a property that you might have thought was something 20 years ago, but hasn't been in redevelopment because there are those questions about it. And so by answering those questions and finding out if there's contamination or not, we're able to put those properties, encourage those properties to get back into reuse.
What's the potential for reuse around the state?
The potential is high, so especially once you start answering those questions. Environmental concerns are usually the first part of due diligence on an all-appropriate inquiry, so whenever you're having property transactions or commercial transactions, you're trying to answer those questions to make sure you're not buying like a bad used car, so to speak. You want to make sure what's under the hood looks good.
Our workshop today deals with the number of dams that we have in the state of Mississippi. Right now, we have over 7,000 dams on our inventory. Realistically, we take into account the other dams that may not be part of our inventory. We maybe have close to 10,000. But Mississippi is number one in the country, not per capita, but just a solid number one on the number of dams that we have that exceed 20 feet in height and are more than 8 to 10 acres in size. We actually have 5,900 that are on the national inventory, and that puts us far and away at number one. Oklahoma is number two with 4,600, and we've got almost double the number of dams of the number 5 or number 6 states in the country. So many of these dams were built 40 plus years ago, and over time the structures begin to degrade, and there's maintenance and operation requirements to keep those in good standing so that they basically don't fail and lead to property damage or potential loss of life downstream. So we're covering the numbers of the dams, where are those dams, how can you find information on those, how can you get emergency information in the event that there's something that's happening with one of those, and information about some funding that's available right now through the state of Mississippi to help assist dam owners with doing work to upgrade those structures.
Our workshop today is dealing with what we do at the Public Service Commission and a lot of the things that we're working on project-wise now. For example, the extension of broadband all across the state. We're leading the nation in broadband. We're also pretty much breaking records with the amount of robocallers that we're finding and putting out of business. And we all said that we were going to continue to do that, and we've done that, and we probably find more than the commission has in 20 years combined in just a year and a half. And then from there, we're working on a number of other things that involved the robocalls and how we can best protect the people of Mississippi in that aspect. But 5G technology, working on, solar power, working on, just put in a new wind farm. A lot of great things are happening here, and we're going to be able to share those here with the attendees from the MML.
Public Service Commission, in some cases, we do directly regulate the services that municipality provides. By state law, that's not always the case, depending on where their service area is actually located. However, one of the points of our objectives of today's workshop is to discuss some of the things that municipalities can do to create better resiliency and reliability within their utility delivery service process, and what kind of investments may need to be needed to harden those systems in the events of extreme weather events. And one of the ways we want to discuss, and some of the things we're doing at the PSC, is analyzing what are, with the help of outside consultants, what did we see at the February winter event? What were some of those weaknesses? What can we do to be better prepared next time? What are those targeted investments that need to be made so we ensure that we can avoid those large area outages and create better reliability for utility services for their customers, their constituents, the members of their community.
So our workshop today deals with economic development and how good design decisions by elected officials impact long-term economic success for communities. And projects that these elected officials look at from time to time, we want them to be able to help evaluate the long-term impacts of a project and their cost benefit to a community. So that's what today's going to help do.
What advice do you have for municipalities around Mississippi?
To develop a vision, a lot of times you can hire a design professional to help do that, and stay with that vision, don't compromise from it, and plan for the long term, and you'll see economic success.
Our workshop today deals with planning in the digital age and the importance of utilizing technology in the development of comprehensive plans for your community. This can take forms of public outreach using social media, online surveys, that sort of thing for outreach to the public. It can also take the form of interactive map viewers. They're integrated into comprehensive plans, as well as story maps to make them more interactive and engaging to the public once they are published, to avoid having comprehensive plans that are simply printed documents that sit on the shelf for the next 20 years.
Tell us what kind of examples of success have you seen?
Quite a few. The very first one was the small town of Pillahatchee that was actually integrated into an online story map, an interactive story map. That was a technology developed by Esri that was released in 2015. So it just so happened that the town of Pillahatchee's plan was the very first. And I believe in the first year they had something like 3,600 views online of that plan, which, as you can imagine, a town of less than 1,500, that's much more views than would have happened had it been just a printed document residing at town hall.
Our workshop will provide great insight into how your municipality can be protected, because ransomware is a huge issue right now, and it could bring down your city or cost the city a lot of money if you have to pay a ransom or potentially deal with all the inactivity of your municipality.
What's the best advice to municipalities around Mississippi to avoid this?
Be knowledgeable and be vigilant and know what to be watching for, making sure your equipment is updated, know how to be engaged in that. And we're going to show that in our workshop, as well as we have a website that can help and be a landing page for any city employee or whatever to connect to it.
How serious is the potential threat?
It is very serious. And one of the reasons it's so serious is because people don't report a lot of the times that they've done it, because they don't want to know that their city or their business has been hacked. And it's a huge issue. Matter of fact, our director spoke at Homeland Security in Congress last week about our project and how serious it is.
Our workshop today is dealing with Public Works and what Public Works can do for you. We're going to discuss exactly what goes on in the municipality, the Public Works, whether it be streets and drainage, water, sewer, bridges, stuff like that. But then we're also going to talk about the American Public Works Association, which is our national organization that we belong to, and explain to everyone here exactly what APWA can do for their city, county, municipality. So we're hoping once we get done with this, we'll be able to enlighten some people on exactly what Public Works can do for them if they want to take that next step. My advice would be to go and talk to your Public Works officials. There's a lot of needs that they have. We're kind of nobody really cares about the Public Works side because we're not pretty like police and firemen. But when it comes down to it, we are the guys that make sure the water gets to your house, and when you take a shower, use the bathroom, that it leaves your house. We deal with the traffic as well. So the big thing is go listen to them, see what their needs are, and see if you can help them.
Our workshop today is so you want to build a park, where to start. And we're going to discuss today what you need to look at when you're getting ready to implement a park. Once you know where you want to go with it, designing it, implementing it, and then how to take care of it afterwards.
What are your recommendations for cities and towns and villages around Mississippi?
Parks and recreation is a great passion of mine, and people don't realize the true importance that it has on a community and the quality of life it provides for the citizens there.
Our workshop today is dealing with resilient communities. Let me tell you why that's important. When disasters happen, it's the people who are affected first by the disaster that need to be able to take care of themselves. Through our program with the Mississippi Citizen Corps, through Mississippi Office of Homeland Security, we can give the citizens the resources and training they need to take care of themselves when disasters happen.
What kind of response have you seen so far from this program?
Oh, we've seen great response. It's been around a long time, and COVID kind of did a number on it like everything else. A lot of what we do, those individual citizen groups have kind of fallen by the wayside, and so that's why we're excited to be here, because these local municipalities are the ones that can help build those programs back. But we've always seen good response by our citizens.
Our workshop today deals with homelessness and how communities and municipal-led
task force can address homelessness at the very root cause and also create housing solutions for people in vulnerable situations in their community. The reason this is important for the rural communities of Mississippi is because we understand that there are less resources and less manpower to dedicate to addressing homelessness, and especially street homelessness. So I would like to give our cities a few tactics and a few best practices to take home where they can put together their own task force of concerned citizens, of motivated community members to address homelessness in their community.
Tell us, do you have any success stories of communities that have been successful in battling homelessness?
Yes, sir. Today, actually, my co-presenter is going to be the Community Outreach Coordinator for the City of Tupelo. Tupelo and also the City of Hattiesburg realized multiple years ago that homelessness was an issue and that they wanted to be a part of the solution. So I'm very pleased with the task force and the different initiatives Tupelo and the City of Hattiesburg have put together to address homelessness at the street level, and also how do you build a coordinated entry system to prevent homelessness in the future.
I am a relatively new mayor this time around. It is my second time around, but a lot has changed in the past 20 years. And so I'm excited. I'm learning. I'm meeting all these great new people, connecting with fellow mayors, and also people who can really help us, resources.
As a new mayor, what are your expectations for MML? How can they help you and your city?
Well, the education is second to none, and just to keep that up. In addition to that, MML has led the effort, along with our National League of Cities, in helping get us the ARP funds and a direct appropriation to the cities, and that's really important.
As a new elected mayor of MML, I'm just looking for guidance, just to learn, just policy and procedure, and just go from there.
I've been on the board for 12 years, and I have been coming to MML every year, and every opportunity that I can go to even small town meetings. I've learned so much about community development. I always learn. This year I'm planning to learn more about the community development grant opportunities. I love to network with other cities to see what they're doing and how they're getting their funding. It's just a great opportunity to learn that's beneficial to our city.
I learned a lot from it, laws and all kind of things, man. I got notes to keep up with all the things that I learned. I take pictures so I can take it back to remind me of what I learned here. It's very, very educational.
I've been coming 13 years, and the value has been tremendous because when I came, I knew very little. And I've learned a great deal, and it's very informative. It keeps us up to date on what is available for our communities, and of course that's what we need to know, because I come from a very small town, Algoma, and we need all the help that we can get, and this is a way that we can find out what's available.
This case from here is very knowledgeable, It's helping us do our job much better, make better decisions when we discuss things. And I really enjoy being a city councilor. It's also helping us in the community and helping business and also the resident and making decisions.
Alderman for about 12 years. I've been coming. They've been very beneficial to me. One project I had, I went to a class and I went back home and followed through on it, and the project works very well. So it's very educational.
I've been coming to MML for 20 years, and I've been on the board for over 20, and I've learned a lot for coming to classes. You learn how to take things back to your community. You learn a lot of people, meet a lot of people, and you can take different ideas from other towns back to your town.
I just attended one on water that talked about the structure of the water rates and how we need to be sure that we're, the water rates appropriately set so that we can have the funds we need to do the improvements and repairs and upgrades that we need to do.
Will that help you back home?
Certainly, it will.
I just got elected for alderman in Tupelo, Mississippi, and I came to the conference to learn everything that I need to know as far as my job, to do a better job.
Tell us, what are you looking for in terms of services and help from MML?
Everything.
This is my 13th time to come. I've been an alderman for 12 years and just got elected to the 13th year, but it's crucial. It's really the only way that us as elected officials have to understand what it takes to legally do the job. So many people come into the position and want to run it like a business, and unfortunately in government it doesn't work that way, and this is where you learn the outline to do that, and the value of it is just can't be understated.
I'm a newly elected mayor of Fulton, Mississippi, and I came to MML to really learn about the resources available to improve Fulton, and I have really learned a lot. So many laws and regulations and stuff we shouldn't be doing that's really important, because I do not want to end up in jail. And I'm just really excited about networking and learning from other mayors, things that have worked for their cities and things that haven't, and just learning from them.
I've been an alderman for 20 years. This year be 24. Now, this MML is very, very educational. Sometimes I miss it, sometimes I don't. But when I can make it, I make it to them. It's very educational.
I'm a newly elected mayor. I came to MML, of course, to increase my knowledge about what kind of benefits and services can I be enhanced to carry back into my community in order to better serve my community.
Have you learned a lot so far?
I certainly have learned extremely a lot. It has increased my knowledge more than I knew before I got here.
As a newly elected mayor, what are your expectations for MML? How can they help you be more successful?
It can help me be more successful because what they do, they partner with the different municipalities and towns and work as partnership and expand the knowledge and information that they already have, the expertise they carried into the small towns and the other cities and counties to help us provide better services.
I came to MML to learn a lot about the finances that I need to know about when being a mayor, and I need to get in touch with make connections with other mayors so I can form coalitions to get things done in my town.
As a newly elected mayor, what are your expectations for MML?
I just want to get to learn a lot of things, a lot of new things, because this is my first time being a mayor, and I also want to make, like I said, connections with other mayors to see what they did to better their town.
Local government is very important. The phrase that gets used the most is it's where the rubber meets the road, and that's very true. Your municipal officials are the ones that you run into at the grocery store and at church and at school, and they're the ones that affect your community the most. And so it's very important for them to get the proper training they need to make an impact and better your community.